Stoic journey.
Hello and welcome, fellow seekers of wisdom and inner strength. Let me ask you something honest. When was the last time you felt truly alone? Not just without people, but alone in your thoughts, alone in your struggles, alone in a crowd, alone in silence. Most people fear this feeling. They rush to fill it with noise, with distractions, with other people. But the Stoics, they welcomed it. Today, we explore why a Stoic does not fear loneliness. In fact, they saw it as a path to power. This video will show you how loneliness is different from solitude, why the Stoics trained themselves to embrace isolation, the 5 Stoic practices to master solitude, and how to use alone time to become stronger, clearer, and more resilient. If this resonates, please like, subscribe, and comment below. What makes you feel most alone? And how do you usually respo? ND. Let's begin the journey inward. The fear of loneliness in the modern world. We live in the most connected era in history, and yet loneliness has become a global epidemic. We have endless notificati, ons, constant digital chatter, superficial social networks. But what we lack is deep connection, especially with ourselves. People fear loneliness because it makes them confront their thoughts. It reminds them of who they are without validation. It strips away distraction and exposes the rawness of being. But loneliness is not always negative. The Stoics saw it differently. The Stoic view of solitude and self-sufficiency. The Stoics didn't fear being alone because they were never truly alone. A wise man is never less alone than when he is alone. Seneca. They believed true strength comes from within. You carry your philosophy with you. The self is your only constant companion. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but wrote privately in his journal every day. His meditations were not for the world. They were for his own inner dialogue. For the Stoics, solitude was preparation, not punishment. Alone time was a temple, not a prison. They learned to enjoy their own company. And you see. And 2. 5 Stoic practices to embrace solitude. Now let's explore 5 powerful Stoic tools to not only accept being alone, but to grow stronger from it. Practice self-reflection in silence. The Stoics made quiet introspection a daily ritual. Marcus Aurelius didn't need a therapist. He had his pen, and that journal became one of the greatest philosophical works ever written. Your turn. Turn off all devices. Sit in silence. Ask, what am I avoiding by keeping busy? Let silence reveal the truths noise has hidden. Focus on what you control. Loneliness often makes us feel powerless, but Epictetus taught us to focus only on what we can control. Our thoughts, our actions, our values. You can't force people to stay. You can't force love or approval, but you can always govern your response. Say, daily mantra. I do not control the presence of others. I only control the presence of mind. Reframe loneliness as training. To a Stoic, being alone is not exile. This preparation. It is in times of solitude that the soul grows. Use alone time to build skills, train discipline, observe your habits, strengthen your principles. Solitude is where real work happens, because no one is watching. Strengthen inner dialogue. Lonely people often fear their own thoughts. Stoics turned that monologue into wisdom. Journaling prompt. What emotion is present? What belief caused it? Is that belief UE? What would a Stoic say? You stop being your worst critic and become your own teacher. Practice voluntary solitude. The Stoics didn't just tolerate solitude, they sought it. They practiced simple living, fasting from attention, time alone in nature. Modern application: take a social media break for 3 days. Spend a day without talking. Go on a silent walk. Eat a meal without your phone. Make solitude a practice, not a punishment. Real life stories of solitude becoming strength. Let's meet real people who turned loneliness into power. Noah, recovering after a breakup. Noah's long 2M relationship ended suddenly. He spiraled into isolation and despair. But instead of distracting himself, he embraced Stoic solitude. He journaled every day, took long solo walks, read Epictetus. Now, he says, I lost someone, but I found myself. Layla, building self-confidence in silence. Layla was addicted to external validation, social media, compliments, constant socializing. She challenged herself to a 7-day silence retreat. It was terrifying at first, but by day 4, she began to hear her own voice again. That voice became her compass. Marco, from loneliness to creative fire. Marco, an artist, often felt isolated and misunderstood, but then he reframed solitude as creative fuel. He started treating alone time as sacred, and in that space, his best work was born. The power gain. Through solitude. Practicing Stoic solitude creates massive transformation. Inner stability. You no longer fear being alone, because you are complete as you are. Clear thinking, without constant noise. Your priorities sharpen. Resilience. You don't crumble when others leave. You remain steady, like a rock in the storm. Self-mastery. You know your mind. You govern your thoughts, and no one can take from you. This is the Stoic path, the gift of solitude in relationships. Ironically, the better you are at being alone, the better you become with others. Why? Because you don't depend on others' or validation. You don't cling out of fear. You love from wholeness, not emptiness. You become more present, more peaceful, more grounded, and that presence changes lives. Let's return to the question. Why does a Stoic not fear loneliness? Because they've learned that solitude is a mirror and a forge. That peace is not found in people, but in principles. That being alone is not emptiness, it's potential. Today, choose one practice. Sit in silence. Take a long walk without distraction. Write one honest page. Do something uncomfortable, alone, and notice what happens. If this video brought you clarity or calm, please like it. Subscribe for more Stoic teachings. Comment, what's your greatest insight about being alone? Remember, you are not alone when you are with yourself. Live like a Stoic.